The research vessel hung silently above Earth's atmosphere, its smooth silver surface reflecting the pale blue planet below. Inside, lead researcher Gray stared at the monitoring screens with all four of his eyes widening in disbelief. "This cannot be correct," he muttered, adjusting the sensitivity of his instruments. "Run the scan again." His assistant, Blue, quickly tapped the necessary commands into the console. The results came back identical to before. "Sir, the readings are consistent. These creatures, these humans, are constantly shedding their outer layer and regenerating it." Gray moved closer to the display, his thin fingers hovering over the data streams. The ship's computer had been monitoring a small human settlement for the past 3 rotations, and what they discovered defied all known biological principles. "Look at this," Gray pointed to a particular reading. "Their outer protective layer. They call it skin. It completely replaces itself every human month. They're walking around, doing their daily tasks, while literally falling apart and rebuilding themselves." Blue made a sound of disgust, his color shifting slightly darker. "How do they survive like that? Surely such constant regeneration must drain their energy reserves." "That's another anomaly," Gray replied, pulling up another set of data. "They seem to maintain this process with minimal energy input. And there's more." He switched to a thermal imaging view of the settlement. "See these temperature variations. Their bodies maintain a constant internal temperature regardless of the external environment. They generate heat internally." The ship's commander, White, floated into the research bay, his ceremonial robes rippling in the artificial gravity. "Have you made progress in understanding these creatures?" Gray turned to face his superior. "Commander, these humans are unlike anything in our database. They demonstrate characteristics that should be impossible for carbon-based life forms. Just yesterday, we observed one of them recovering from a deep tissue injury in mere days, a process that should take months." White's color patterns showed concern. "The Council will require more concrete data. We need a specimen for detailed study." "Sir," Blue interrupted, "what about the non-interference protocols?" White waved a dismissive tentacle. "This is a pre-FTL civilization. They won't even know we're here. Besides, we'll return the specimen unharmed after our studies." Gray felt uneasy about this decision, but orders were orders. He pulled up a map of the region they had been monitoring. "There's a solitary human who frequently visits this remote area." He pointed to a forested region marked on the display. "The humans call it a national park. This individual, designated as Jack, follows a predictable pattern. He travels alone to the same location every 7 rotations." "Perfect," White declared. "Prepare the containment field. We'll collect the specimen during its next visit." Over the next few days, Gray and his team prepared their equipment. They calibrated their containment field to human biological readings and modified their sensors to track Jack's movements. Everything was done according to standard procedures that had worked flawlessly on thousands of other species across the galaxy. What they didn't know, what they couldn't know, was that humans were anything but standard. On the day of the planned capture, Jack arrived at his usual camping spot right on schedule. He set up his tent, started a small fire, and sat down to enjoy the peaceful evening. The research team watched from their cloaked ship, waiting for the perfect moment. "Target is stationary," Blue reported. "Vital signs are stable." Gray checked the containment field one final time. "Remember, quick and clean. The specimen shouldn't feel a thing." As the team activated their equipment, Gray couldn't shake off a nagging feeling that they were missing something important. The preliminary data had shown so many anomalies, so many unexplainable readings. But surely, he thought, a simple containment field would work just like it had on countless other species. He was about to learn just how wrong he was. The containment field hummed to life, its purple energy spreading silently through the air above Jack's campsite. Gray watched through the ship's monitors as the field descended toward their target. Everything was going according to plan. Until it wasn't. The moment the field touched Jack's skin, something unexpected happened. Small blue sparks danced across his arms, and the containment field flickered wildly. "That's impossible," Blue exclaimed, his color shifting to a pale yellow in alarm. "The field is losing power." Gray rushed to the controls, his fingers flying across the interface. "The human's outer layer is generating some kind of electrical response. It's interfering with our technology." On the ground, Jack jumped to his feet. He felt a strange tingling sensation all over his body, like static electricity, but stronger. His hair stood on end, and his skin felt warm and charged. Years of military training kicked in. Something wasn't right. "Increase power to the containment field," White ordered from behind them. "We can't lose this specimen." Blue complied, pushing the field generators to their limits. The purple energy intensified, creating a visible dome around Jack's campsite. But instead of subduing him, it seemed to make things worse. Jack's body was now literally crackling with electrical energy. His sweat, triggered by the sudden surge of adrenaline, began to react with the alien field. Where the energy touched his skin, it sparked and fizzled, creating small holes in the containment field. "Sir," Gray called out in panic, "the human's body is producing some sort of defensive response. These readings, they're off the scale." Inside the field, Jack's heart was racing. His muscles tensed, flooding his system with adrenaline. The fight-or-flight response that had helped humans survive for thousands of years was now activating in full force. But unlike his prehistoric ancestors who faced lions and bears, Jack was facing something completely unknown. "Look at these biological readings," Blue said in amazement. "The human's internal temperature is rising, muscle density is increasing, and are those new neural pathways forming?" Gray stared at the data in disbelief. The human body wasn't just fighting their technology. It was adapting to it in real time. Every attempt to strengthen the containment field was met with a stronger biological response from Jack. "The field is failing," Blue shouted as warning lights flashed across their control panel. "We're losing containment." White moved forward, his robes swishing in agitation. "This is unprecedented. Abort the mission. Shut it down before." But it was too late. With a spectacular flash of blue-white light, the containment field collapsed completely. The feedback surge sent their systems into chaos, and for a brief moment, their ship's cloaking device flickered. Jack saw it, a massive silver shape hovering in the darkening sky above his campsite. His military instincts took over. In one fluid motion, he grabbed his phone from his pocket and snapped several pictures before the ship disappeared again. Inside the vessel, alarms were blaring. "Multiple systems are offline," Blue reported, his color now a sickly gray. "The human's biological response somehow overloaded our primary power grid." "This is a disaster," White said, his voice tight with concern. "Not only did we fail to capture the specimen, but we've also exposed ourselves to a pre-FTL species." Gray was barely listening to them. He was too busy studying the readings from their failed attempt. Something about the humans' reaction didn't make sense. The electrical response from their skin, the rapid adaptation, the strength of their defensive mechanisms, none of it matched known biological patterns. "Sir," he said finally, looking up at White, "I don't think this was just a failed capture attempt. I think we've just discovered something far more significant." He pointed to the readings. "These humans, they're not just animals. They're living weapons." As the ship's systems slowly came back online, Jack was already hiking back to civilization, his phone clutched tightly in his hand. The first contact between humans and aliens hadn't gone as the research team planned, and things were about to get much more complicated. Military officer Anne sat at her desk, staring at the growing pile of strange reports on her computer screen. In the past week, there had been 37 incidents of unexplained electrical disturbances in national parks across the country. But it was Jack's photos that really caught her attention. Though blurry, the images clearly showed something that shouldn't exist: a massive silver ship hovering in the night sky. More interesting were the readings from Jack's smartwatch during the incident, showing unusual electrical activity in his body at the time. "Tell me again what you felt," Anne said, looking at Jack, who sat across from her desk. "It was like my whole body was charged with electricity," he explained, rubbing his arms at the memory. "And the stranger thing is, I feel different now. Stronger somehow. Yesterday, I accidentally touched an electric fence on my farm, but instead of getting shocked, I just felt a slight tingle." Anne made another note in her file. This wasn't the first report of enhanced electrical resistance she'd received this week. Meanwhile, in orbit, Gray was making his own disturbing discoveries. His research team had been analyzing the data from their failed capture attempt nonstop. "Look at this," he said to Blue, pointing at their main screen. "When our containment field touched the human skin, it didn't just generate electricity. The human's entire cellular structure began to adapt." Blue moved closer to the display, his color shifting to a thoughtful green. "Are you saying they can evolve in real time?" "Not exactly evolve," Gray corrected, pulling up more data. "It's more like they're designed to become stronger when attacked. Their bodies don't just heal damage, they improve from it." White floated into the research bay, looking troubled. "The Council is demanding answers. 3 other research ships have reported similar failures in attempting to collect human specimens. One ship's entire electrical system was fried when they tried to use a tractor beam on a human child." "A child?" Gray's 4 eyes widened. "They're even more dangerous when young." "Apparently," White replied. "Human children have even faster healing and adaptation rates than adults. And there's more." He brought up a new set of images on the main screen. "These humans are showing signs of pack bonding with local predator species." The screen showed humans walking with large 4-legged creatures, some even sharing their living spaces with them. In one image, a human child slept peacefully next to a wolf, one of Earth's most dangerous predators. "Remarkable," Blue whispered. "They don't just adapt to threats, they turn potential threats into allies." Back on Earth, Anne was making connections of her own. She spread a map across her office wall, marking each reported incident with a pin. The pattern was clear. The incidents were increasing, and they were moving closer to populated areas. "It's like they're testing us," she muttered to herself. "Learning our strengths and weaknesses." Her phone buzzed with a new report. A farmer in Kansas had just reported his entire herd of cattle acting strangely, all facing the sky at once. More concerning were the circular burn marks found in his fields, marks that matched the size of the ship in Jack's photos. In orbit, Gray made one final, chilling discovery. He had been studying historical human medical records, and what he found terrified him. "Sir," he called to White, his voice shaking. "These humans, when they get sick, their bodies don't just fight off the illness. They remember it. Their immune systems store information about every threat they've ever faced. They're not just touch-sensitive predators, they're living archives of survival." White's color drained to a pale gray. "How many humans are there on this planet?" "Over 7 billion, Blue answered quietly, "and each one is a potential biological weapon." As night fell over Earth, both species were coming to the same realization. First contact had awakened something in humanity, something that had been dormant for thousands of years. The real question was, what would humanity do with this awakening? Gray's research team prepared for their second capture attempt with heavily modified equipment. This time, they had chosen a more remote location, a small mountain cabin where a group of 3 humans had gathered for what they called a weekend trip. "All systems are upgraded," Blue reported, his color showing confidence. "The new containment field should resist their electrical responses." What the aliens didn't know was that Anne had predicted their next move. After studying the pattern of incidents, she had placed small teams near likely target areas. The cabin's tourists were actually trained military personnel, equipped with new sensors designed to detect energy anomalies. Movement in the upper atmosphere, one of the soldiers radioed to Anne, who was monitoring from a hidden command post nearby. just like Jack described, and watched her screens as the alien ship's energy signature appeared. This time, they were ready. The research vessel positioned itself above the cabin, its new containment field humming to life. But the moment it activated, something unexpected happened. Again. Sir, Blue's color turned almost white with shock. The humans, they're sweating. Gray rushed to the monitors. The human skin was indeed covered in a thin layer of moisture, but this was different from normal human perspiration. The sweat hitting the containment field wasn't just conducting electricity, it was corroding the energy matrix itself. Impossible, White muttered, watching the field deteriorate. Their defense mechanisms are evolving. On the ground, Anne's team sprang into action. They activated a series of devices that began recording and mimicking the alien field's energy signature. Years of studying electromagnetic phenomena had prepared humanity for this moment. Inside the ship, alarms blared. The humans are replicating our technology, Blue shouted. They've learned from our first attempt. The cabin's residents emerged, their bodies literally glowing with electrical charge. The soldiers' special suits, designed after studying Jack's experience, amplified their natural electrical resistance. But there was more. Sir, Blue's voice shook as he read the new data. The humans have formed some kind of network. Their electrical fields are synchronizing. Gray watched in fascination and horror as the three humans moved in perfect coordination. Their combined electrical output created a feedback loop that not only destroyed the containment field, but sent a surge of power back toward the ship. Emergency shields, White ordered, but it was too late. The surge hit their vessel with devastating force. Systems flickered, and for a moment, their cloaking device failed completely. Anne's team didn't waste the opportunity. They launched a barrage of scanning devices, collecting every bit of data they could about the alien ship. Look at their readings, Gray gasped, studying the humans' biological responses. Their bodies aren't just resisting our technology. They're getting stronger with each interaction. The electrical charges in their nervous systems are adapting, becoming more powerful. White finally made the decision they should have made weeks ago. Abort mission. Get us out of here. As the ship retreated to a higher orbit, Anne collected her team's findings. The aliens had unknowingly given humanity exactly what they needed, data about their own technology. Send everything to the research lab, she ordered, and get me Jack on the phone. His experience with their first attempt just proved invaluable. In orbit, Gray made his report to the Galactic Council. These humans, he explained, they're not just dangerous because they can generate electrical charges or because their sweat can corrode our energy fields. They're dangerous because they learn. Every attack makes them stronger. Every encounter teaches them more about us. White added his own observation. And worse, they work together. They share information, adapt as a group, and coordinate their responses. In all my years of exploration, I've never seen anything like it. The council members listened in silence, a growing sense of unease spreading through their virtual chamber. Humanity wasn't just surviving their attempts at capture. They were turning the tables on their would-be captors. The Galactic Council's emergency meeting chamber was filled with nervous energy. Representatives from 50 different species gathered to hear Gray's full report on human biology. What they learned changed everything they thought they knew about life in the universe. Let me show you what makes humans truly unique, Gray said, projecting a series of images into the chamber's holographic display. When a human is injured, something remarkable happens. The display showed a time-lapse of human wound healing. The council members watched in fascination as the damaged tissue not only repaired itself, but became stronger than before. This is just the beginning, Gray continued. Every system in their body follows this pattern of adaptive improvement. Their bones, when broken, heal denser than before. Their muscles, when strained, grow back stronger. Even their skin becomes tougher where it's been damaged. One council member, a crystalline being, sparkled in confusion. But surely they have limits. Blue stepped forward with more data. That's what makes humans truly frightening. We haven't found their limits yet. Look at this. He showed footage from their failed capture attempts. Each time we tried to contain them, their resistance grew stronger. Their bodies literally learned from every attack. The display shifted to show human immune system responses. And here's the most disturbing part, Gray explained. Their internal defense system, what they call the immune system, doesn't just fight off threats, it remembers them. Forever. White added his own observations. A human who survives a disease becomes immune to it. They pass these immunities to their offspring. With each generation, they become harder to kill. The council chamber erupted in worried murmurs. One of the eldest members, a gaseous entity, floated forward. How do they maintain such complex defense mechanisms? The energy cost must be enormous. That's another peculiarity, Gray replied. They fuel all this with a remarkably simple diet. They can extract energy from almost any organic matter. Some humans even deliberately expose themselves to harmful substances in small doses to build up immunity. The display showed humans exercising, their muscles adapting and growing stronger. They call this training, Blue explained. They intentionally damage their bodies in controlled ways to become stronger. Who would evolve to do that? There's more, Gray continued. Their bodies maintain a constant internal temperature regardless of their environment. They can survive in freezing cold or burning heat. They can go days without sleep, weeks without food, and still function. The council leader, a being of pure energy, spoke for the first time. How did we miss this in our initial surveys? Because we were looking for weapons, White answered. We were scanning for artificial technology, energy signatures, nuclear capabilities. We never imagined that their bodies themselves would be their most powerful weapons. Gray pulled up one final display, a map of human settlements across Earth. And remember, there are over 7 billion of them. Each one is a self-improving, self-repairing, adaptive organism capable of learning from every encounter with a new threat. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. These humans weren't just another species, they were something entirely new. Every attempt to study them had only made them stronger. Every encounter had taught them more about alien technology. I moved to classify Earth as a death world, the council leader announced, and to designate humans as an extreme hazard species. The vote was unanimous. Warning beacons would be placed around the solar system. All research vessels would be recalled. The message would be clear. Earth was off limits. As the council members filed out, Gray stayed behind, studying the human biological data one last time. In all his years of xenobiology research, he'd never seen anything like them. A species that grew stronger when attacked, learned from every encounter, and passed these improvements to the next generation. We didn't just find a new species, he muttered to himself. We found our worst nightmare, an enemy that becomes stronger every time we fight it. Aang stood in the military command center, surrounded by screens showing data from around the world. After weeks of preparation, humanity was ready to make its move. The aliens' failed capture attempts had given them everything they needed to understand their technology. All teams in position, her assistant reported. Special response units are equipped with the new bioelectric amplifiers. These amplifiers, designed based on Jack's experience, enhanced the human body's natural electrical defense mechanisms. But humanity's real advantage wasn't their technology, it was their ability to work together. In orbit, Gray's research vessel detected the growing energy signatures from Earth. Sir, Blue called out, his color shifting to alarm red. The humans are mobilizing. These energy readings, they're replicating our containment field technology. White rushed to the command center. Impossible. How could they have developed it so quickly? You don't understand, Gray said, studying the data. They didn't develop it. They adapted to it. Their bodies learned from our attacks, and they found a way to amplify their natural defenses. On the ground, Anne gave the signal. Around the world, Hundreds of specially trained soldiers activated their amplifiers. The combined electrical field was so powerful it created visible auroras in the sky. Multiple human settlements are generating synchronized energy fields, Blue reported, his voice shaking. They're coordinating their biological responses on a global scale. The ship's sensors were going crazy. Every human within the network was showing increased electrical output, their bodies working in perfect harmony. What had started as a simple defense mechanism in individuals had evolved into a coordinated planetary defense system. Jack, now part of Anne's team, led the first direct contact attempt. Remember, he told his squad, our bodies know how to fight their technology. Trust your instincts. Gray watched in amazement as the humans began to actively probe their ship's defenses. Each attempt was more sophisticated than the last. The humans weren't just resisting their technology, they were learning to control it. Sir, Blue called out in panic, their electrical fields are beginning to interfere with our ship's systems. The cloaking device is failing. White made a desperate decision. Launch the improved containment field. We must stop them before. But the humans were ready. As the alien containment field deployed, the coordinated human network responded with a massive surge of bioelectric energy. The feedback loop was catastrophic. Primary systems failing. Blue shouted as emergency lights flashed throughout the ship. Their combined electrical output is overwhelming our defenses. Gray stared at his readings in disbelief. The humans weren't just defending themselves. They were becoming stronger with each passing moment. Their bodies were adapting in real time, learning from every interaction with alien technology. Anne's voice crackled through Earth's communication channels. All units, maintain the field. Let's show our visitors why you should never underestimate humanity. The ship's systems were shutting down one by one. White finally admitted defeat. Send the emergency signal to the Council. Earth is not just a death world. It's something far more dangerous. It's a world where every attack makes the inhabitants stronger. As the research vessel retreated from Earth's orbit, Jack stood with Anne watching the sky. The alien ship was visible now, its cloaking technology completely neutralized by humanity's coordinated defense. They didn't understand what they were dealing with, Anne said, smiling. Every time they tried to capture us, they just taught us more about ourselves. And about them, Jack added, looking at his hands which still crackled with enhanced bioelectric energy. They thought they were studying us, but we were learning about them too. In the retreating ship, Gray made his final entry in the research log. Note for all future expeditions, humans don't just survive attacks. They thrive on them. The more you try to contain them, the stronger they become. This isn't just a species that adapted to survive. It's a species that adapted to conquer. The Galactic Council's main chamber was packed with representatives from every known spacefaring civilization. On the massive central display, footage from Earth played on repeat. Humans coordinating their bioelectric defenses, their bodies adapting and growing stronger with each alien encounter. The situation is unprecedented, the Council leader announced. For the first time in our history, we must create a new class of warning specifically for a single species. Gray stood before the Council, preparing to present his final report. After their retreat from Earth, his research team had spent months analyzing everything they had learned about humans. Distinguished Council members, he began, what we discovered on Earth changes everything we thought we knew about biological adaptation. These humans don't just heal, they improve. They don't just learn, they evolve. And most importantly, they don't just survive, they get stronger. The display showed clips from their failed capture attempts. Watch how their bodies respond to our containment fields. Gray continued. Each attempt not only failed but made them more resistant. Their skin can now generate electrical charges strong enough to disrupt our most advanced technology. Blue stepped forward with additional data. And it's not just their physical adaptations that make them dangerous. They share information at an unprecedented rate. When one human learns to resist a threat, they quickly teach others. Their ability to cooperate and coordinate their responses is unlike anything we've seen. White, now bearing the marks of a humbled commander, added his own warning. We thought we were studying them, but they were studying us. Every probe, every scan, every attempted capture gave them more information about our technology. They now understand our containment fields well enough to replicate them using their own biological energy. The council chamber filled with nervous murmurs. One member asked the question everyone was thinking. What do you propose we do about them? Do about them? Gray shook his head. We do nothing. We stay away. That's why I'm proposing a new galactic protocol. The main display switched to show a series of warning beacons already positioned around Earth's solar system. Each beacon broadcast a simple but clear message in every known language. Extreme hazard. Do not appro. What he see? Human quarantine zone. KATGORI. Adaptive hostile biology. Warning. Q on take makes them stronger. These humans, Gray explained, are now classified as an omega-level biological hazard. Not because they're inherently aggressive, but because they're fundamentally unconquerable. Every attempt to subdue them will only make them more powerful. The Council quickly approved the new protocols. Earth would be marked as strictly off-limits. All research vessels were permanently banned from approaching the planet. The humans would be left alone to develop at their own pace. Meanwhile, on Earth, humanity was undergoing rapid changes. The alien encounters had awakened abilities that had lain dormant for millennia. People around the world reported increased electrical sensitivity, faster healing, and stronger immune responses. In Anne's military facility, Jack led the new First Contact Response Team. They had learned more about themselves in a few months of alien encounters than in thousands of years of human history. Ready for another test? Anne asked, watching Jack's team practice with their enhanced abilities. Jack nodded, his skin crackling with controlled electrical energy. Every day we get stronger, he said. Every test helps us understand our potential better. The final entry in the galactic database now reads: Species, human, Homo sapiens. Classification, omega-level hazard. Notable characteristics, extreme adaptive capabilities. Biological learning, collective improvement. Warning, this species demonstrates unprecedented biological defense mechanisms. Each encounter makes them stronger. Direct contact is strictly forbidden. Special note, humans are the only known species that treats survival not as a state of being, but as a process of continuous improvement. They don't just adapt to survive, they adapt to win. Current status, quarantined on native world, Earth. All approach attempts strictly prohibited. Reason for quarantine, to protect the galaxy from them. As night fell over Earth, Jack stood outside, looking up at the stars. Somewhere up there, warning beacons flashed their message to the galaxy. Leave the humans alone, not for their safety, but for yours.